Hello, listeners, and welcome back to Tradie Wife Life. I don't know why I need to tell you that every single time you join me, because you know exactly what you're listening to. You've chosen it, and you've had a lovely intro of somebody telling you all about how amazing women are. Welcome back to the show. However, I am joined today by a guest you have previously heard from, one of our clients, Lara Denes. Thank you very much for being here.
It's great to be back.
You must be great, because I have asked you back for a second time. In fact, there's a bunch of our amazing clients that will be joining me over the next a few weeks, where I'm talking about women in trade businesses, their roles, and how that can change over time. We did touch on a little bit of what we're talking about today in our previous episode, but today fate has handed us an amazing opportunity to talk about running trade businesses as a tradie wife who doesn't necessarily know how to build a house or be a plumber or be a plasterer or a bricklayer or whatever your trade partner might be into. In Lara's case, her husband, Shane, is a builder. He's a plumber. He's a roofer. He's a bit of a jack of all trades. He's got lots of trades under his belt. And fate, quite remarkably, threw us a wonderful opportunity last week that has seen, well, actually, it's not a wonderful opportunity. It was a dreadful opportunity. Shane had a bit of a health issue, which has meant that he has had to step aside from the business for the last week. And for a period of time moving forward, Lara is very much going to be steering the ship. Lara, how do you currently feel about jumping in and running your building/plumbing company?
It's a little nerve-wracking, but I think I can do it.
Yes.
I think I can probably do it better than he can.
Yes, you can.
And if I can, I'm so getting a T-shirt printed that says,
I think we
I
totally
do it
need
better than you.
Can be quite confronting. And I guess for those who haven't listened to your story before and they don't know your history and where you've come from, can you tell us a little bit about your background before you joined Shane in the business and started working alongside him?
Yeah, so before Shane was a sole trader, and he was on wages, he was a carpenter, and I was a social worker. So I have a bit of history around people and mental illness and all those kind of things. And then Shane became a sole trader. He was, like I said, carpenter at the time. And then when I was 8 months pregnant with my second child and a 3.5-year-old, Shane decided he was going back to trade school to become a plumber.
I'm being right.
That's right. And then he decided that if he was a plumber and a carpenter, he should get his builder's license as well and just do everything himself, which of course meant that things got a lot larger very quickly and he needed a bit of support. So I stopped being a social worker for other people and became a social worker for my husband and our several staff members, and yeah, took over all that office side of stuff while he was swinging hammers.
So the office side of stuff, Lara, what did that look like for you in the beginning and how has that progressed? Maybe not right to the point that it's at now. And perhaps we could restrict it back to before you started working with us. What did that office stuff look like?
Yeah, right. So at the start, it was doing a few invoices at 9 o'clock at night after the kids had gone to bed, which Shane would write out on a piece of paper, and he can't use a computer, so he would then hand me a scrap piece of paper or an offcut of a plasterboard or a timber noggin or anything that he had written some notes on, and I would create an invoice and do that, and then maybe I would reconcile the bank statement once a quarter when we had to do a BAS, and that was about it. And then over time, as we've got more staff, obviously I've had to learn as we went along what that was, until eventually I was working full time in the business doing books and payroll and invoicing and type. I was a secretary, really.
Yeah.
Answering phone calls and typing things that Shane needed typed out. And now I'm a whole lot more.
Yeah, you most certainly are.
Yeah, that's how it all started, I guess.
So what you and Shane, and we're talking to lots of our tradie wives about the opportunity they have ahead of them now that we've released a new program. So for those of you who are listening, we have a new program that will be live on, I think it's the 3rd of November. So from the 3rd of November, we have a short period of time where you are able to jump in and join our very first intake of our ladies only program. What we see is 2 different types of trade businesses. We see a trade business like Lara and Shane's, where typically husband and wife or partners in the business would like to both work on the business structure, and they have some capacity to do so. And generally they come to us or other business coaches and work together on creating some of that change. And then we see some other businesses that are the typical tradie is very overwhelmed with what they have on their plate. They're working really long hours. Often the tradie wife either already has a job or isn't sure how to support. They're not quite sure what those first steps might be or what is needed to create what they know is possible. So, that systemized business that has the structure in place so you can take the time out. So it can be run by somebody other than the tradie so that you are creating those consistent results rather than the ebb and flow that so many of us see in business. And so we've created a program specifically for tradie wives in all levels of their journey. So for some of the ladies that we work with, they've never done anything yet within the business. And then others have been working and quite entrenched in the business in a just helping out capacity. Or some of them are even stepping it right up and working alongside, as a co-director or a co-runner of the company. And there are still systemized structure that needs to change so that they can create that consistent outcome. So that's where we're sort of the angle we're coming at today. Lara and Shane are a couple that came to us in business. They both knew some changes need to be made. Well, if I'm really honest here, I think Lara knew that Shane needed to change, and that's why she led him along to one of our events to meet us. But I'd really like to understand from your point of view, Lara, how that journey started, what it looked like for you, and then what quickly or rapidly changed for you. Now, you've been with us just over 12 months now. Oh, it might even be longer, 14 months or so now.
So we got to the point where we had, I think it was 4 staff members at the time. I'm not sure. I can't remember now. A few staff members at the time. Shane was working ridiculous hours. He was out on the tools from 6 a.m. until 8 p.m. and then he would come home and have to do paperwork. A lot of the information that Shane held was in his head. And I was helping as much as I could, but without the systems and the processes in place, I couldn't do much more than I was doing. And I knew that the load needed to come off Shane. He knew that as well. We just didn't know how we were going to make that happen. So that's how we ended up with Tradies and Business. Now, the difficulty of all of that is that whilst Shane still runs out onto the tools, I'm doing the business development stuff and dragging him along behind because he's so entrenched in what's going on site. So he's now starting to try and realize, I mean, the bigger the business gets, the less time the director can spend on site. Someone needs to be doing the quotes and the sales and talking to the customers and things like that. And that's what Shane's really good at, although he's also very, very good at the building side as well. People like Shane for his personality and he's a charming man, and that's what sells the jobs. So him trying to work out how he could do both has been difficult, where he's had to realize, okay, well, perhaps I have to teach Lara how to do some things. And he has had to let go of some things and teach me how to come up with the right questions to ask when the customers call straight off the bat. Because I would answer the phone, take a message, get a name and phone number, and he'd go, yes, but what size is the bathroom? And do they want tiles, or is it a brick house or a weatherboard house? And I'm like, I don't know. They just want you to go and renovate their house. So as we've grown, we've needed more and more systems in place that's allowing Shane 2 things. Well, it's for both of us. It's allowing Shane to come off the tools more because the boys are working more efficiently on site, and it's allowing me to take over more so that Shane doesn't have the weight of the world on his shoulders, I guess.
Shane's, well, actually, much of the gentlemen that we work with are quite open-minded to creating the change, and sometimes some of that change has been difficult for Shane to take on board because it has meant he's had to make a bit of a thought shift, realistically, almost an identity shift, which is something
Yeah.
we see for most of our tradies during, working with us. Do you feel like that's been challenging for Shane, or do you feel like that's something that because you're working on that structure in the background, it's made it just that little bit easier for him to take that first step at the very least?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit easier for him because I've been able to create templates or systems that he then has to follow. So he's got the system in place to follow.
Mm.
It's just where it's difficult for him is in the letting go
Mm.
and using the system. So I like to say to Shane that if a pilot doesn't turn up for work
Mhm.
on Monday, Alan Joyce doesn't get in and fly the plane.
Mhm.
There's a bunch of people between him and the pilot and a whole lot of systems that ensure that someone else goes and flies the plane, and no the customers know no different. So it's just working out what processes to follow and what system we need to have in place that Shane can do,
Mm.
follow easily. So we have lots of templates and things. He's a pen and paper man. So he has lots of templates and things that he writes in, and then I create something from. So we're getting there.
Yeah. It look, I don't want to sugarcoat it because it's still a journey, right? It's not, I don't think there's such
Sorry.
a thing as a silver bullet, and it takes time and sometimes some tough conversations a couple of times in a row for a tradie. And I'm not talking down about tradies here. What I'm talking about is they've spent their life's work till this point creating the businesses that they have. The system and the structure is there and it's all in their head. They often can't see the wood for the trees because they're just far, far too busy and too stressed. And so I don't want to talk down about the position they find themselves in because, quite frankly, they're not taught any different. There's no opportunity anywhere for them
No.
to learn without taking on something like a business education program.
Yeah, right. And they don't become tradies because they like paperwork,
Not
right?
at all.
They like the building, they like being hands-on, they like creating something, um,
Absolutely.
which is fine when you're, one guy building your own house. But once you start employing people and things get bigger, you've got to stick to where your strengths are.
Yeah, totally. And for most of them, as you rightly point out, it's not in the office and creating
Yeah.
system structure. Even though what I find really I don't even know what the right word is. It still blows me away consistently. Every business out there has a system for everything that you're currently doing. It's
Mhm.
just that often you don't recognize that it's a system and you're doing
Yeah.
it the same way nearly every single time and you're getting the same results nearly every single time. And with some tweaks. So the first step is recording what is currently being done. Might not be giving you the ideal outcome. That's okay. Let's just start with where we're at and then we make change. And so when we find that the gents are a little resistant or reluctant to taking on the information, this is where I think there is a huge power in what we're able to do as tradie wives or tradie partners in creating the structure of the business so that it can eventually run on its own. And it looks like doing exactly what you're talking about, step by step, slowly by slowly, asking them the right questions to get the information that we require so we can start to set up some of that structure. And
Yeah,
as the
right.
structure is set in place, it supports them so they're able to look at how they can begin to let go. And letting go is a whole nother part of what we all go through. But it
We'll do a
does.
podcast on that later.
I know it's incredible. And but we're also the same, right? How many
Yeah.
conversations have we had with the ladies in the group where we don't want to let go of the things that we enjoy doing
Yep.
in business. We don't want to stop doing the book work, or we don't want to stop managing social media. And yet that's probably not our skill set or what we should be focusing on. So we're all very much the same. And the idea that we have here with the ladies only program is supporting the tradie wives or the tradie partners to do some of that heavy lifting in the background to set up some of that structure so that they can start to step back, get their breath back, see how that has created a bit of time, bit of space, bit of freedom for them, and then take that understanding that it can totally change a lot of what they're doing in the business. And Lara, that brings me to a question. you've mentioned that Shane's off, or has the capacity to be off the tools more. Let's not sugarcoat it again. Shane still loves to get his hands dirty. But you guys have found yourself in a really unique situation in the last couple of weeks with some health difficulties for Shane. And I'd love you to talk me through what that has meant for you guys right now, as it is real on the ground today. What are we, Monday, the 9th of October?
Yeah, right. So early last week, I have no idea because I'm not sure what days it has happened. Shane has had a stroke. So that was quite shocking for us. The doctors have told us that it was due to stress and overwork and a whole lot of other, unhealthy habits that he has. But what it meant for us is that, our income comes from Shane's hands, completely from that business. So there was a bit of a time where we were throwing our hands up in the air going, what do we do now? Now, fortunately, Shane is lucky enough that he will be fine, and he will eventually be able to get back on site. However, he will need to slow down for a significant period of time. But what that's going to mean for us is that our staff are going to have to step up. They're going to need a lot of support. They're going to need more systems in place to do what it is that they need to do on site to keep our customers happy. And Shane is going to need to step back and be on site less to keep his health good, and keep us married, because if he doesn't, there might be a few other things to worry about.
Very much.
But so we're at the moment trying to figure out what do we do, and we actually think we've come to the conclusion that, given the support that I have through the other ladies in business and the groups and things that I'm in, that I can do it myself. I don't need Shane. I mean, I do need Shane, obviously, to ask technical questions and things, but I don't need him to be doing the work first. I can do that. I can make phone calls. I know enough about what comes, that the waterproofing comes before the tiling, kind of thing. Over the last few days, I've been putting the job sheets together and the task lists together, giving Shane a draft. He'll look at it and go, yes, change this, or no, change that. So he's really thinking in much smaller snippets of the process, rather than having to oversee the whole project. So at the moment, I'm doing his job and my job. So I may need to let go of a few things to be able to do his job as well. And we might have to restructure a little, but in the grand scheme of things, because we have systems in place already, it's just a matter of working out what goes where and what we follow first.
Lara, are you feeling confident about being to step into that role that you're being handed?
Yeah, absolutely. And that is because I have a lot of history behind it. Shane and I've sat in the office together. I've asked all the questions. I've been on site. I know the boys. I know the jobs that we're doing at the moment, which is very helpful, because I was with Shane when he quoted them. So I knew the customers. So that's been very easy. I also know that, well, one, I can ask Shane any questions, very fortunately, but I can ask plenty of other people the questions that I have. Now, if I wasn't so involved already, perhaps it would be a little more difficult, but the skills that I have, one, that I've learned over the last few years in a trade business, and two, what I've learned in other parts of my life are very transferable. So if I can, put a wedding together, for instance, I can put a house together. It's just a matter of following the steps, right?
You're 100% correct. And I don't think there's a better analogy than that, because most of us have found a way to put a wedding together, right? You muddle through, you ask for advice, you rely on the systems and structures that others might have when we're talking about a wedding, because others are systemized so that you can bring it together. And that's where we're talking about, like, this is worst case scenario, your husband having a stroke and being out of work for a period of time. That's worst case scenario. None of us want to get to that point. And because of the work that you guys have been doing over the last few years, you're in a position where you are able to catch the ball as now the business runner and run with it really long, hard and fast, because you do have the skills and you've done a lot of work around the structure so that it can support you as well. And I don't want to say that this is about taking over from our tradies. This isn't about taking over. It's about making their lives easier and sharing in that business journey with them so that you both reach your business goals, which is something that you guys have done really well as well, just to try and come back to a happy point. Lara, how many holidays have you had since you started working with us? And I'm pleased this is not Tradies and Business doing. This is good, hard work from Lara and Shane. How many holidays have you been able to take?
4.
How many holidays did you have?
5. Sorry, 5. 5 in 2 years. And before that, none in 20.
Yeah. And what changed so that you could take holidays and spend time together as a family?
Well, I think it was knowing what we were doing, basically, and knowing that we needed to forward plan a bit more and actually doing it rather than just talking about doing it, actually sitting down and doing the planning that allowed the space for everything else, I suppose.
Great. Love it. Now I want to bust a myth, because I don't want people to... I don't want to be a wanker business coach. So I want to bust a myth and ask you a question. Lara, was it easy?
No.
Yes, that's the answer I want. Please don't say it's easy, because it's not.
No, it's not easy. It's about prioritizing things. And, that's why we originally went with the business coaching. We've been doing this for 20 years. We know what we're doing, but why are we not making any money? Why is it still hard? These things, it shouldn't work like this. And really, it was because we were doing everything at 50% capacity and nothing at 100% capacity. So just working through those steps, bringing everything up to 100%, it's a process. It takes a long time. It's complicated sometimes, because we have to balance what is my day-to-day stuff that I need to do, what invoices do I need to send out to keep the business running, and how much time do I spend working on the business, not in the business. So finding that balance is often difficult. And don't get me wrong, there are some weeks go by where I don't do anything on the business because I get stuck in the trenches doing in the business. But there's always someone to remind you, but you wouldn't be doing this in the business if you had done that on the business.
God, I hope we don't sound like that when we tell you.
Oh, it's not just you guys, let me tell you. There's a few times that's come out of my mouth to Shane.
Yeah, I can imagine.
As well. So, it's not easy, but it's very worthwhile. I mean, look, the thing is, sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but we take on staff, businesses, sole traders or companies, take on staff for a reason. Usually they get too busy to do it themselves, so they need help. But secondly, often they go, well, I want to spend time with my family, or I want to go on holidays, or I want to make money, right? But if we continue to work on site just as hard as we were, even though we've got staff, all we're doing is keeping people employed, and we're not creating any more freedom for ourselves. So then it just becomes more of a headache. So we need to be able to utilize our staff to step up, take the pressure off us so that we can step back. Otherwise, there's no point in having them. You might as well just work as a sole trader on your own. And save yourself the headache. So if you're going to have a headache, it needs to be for a good reason.
Yes, it does. Okay. One other thing that you have touched on a couple of times that I really want to highlight is the support. You've referenced support, and you weren't talking about Warwick and myself. You were talking about your wider community. Can you talk us through community and what that means to you?
So I'm a big fan of community. I think that no one person can do anything on their own. So, you know, with the exception of my close family and my close friends, like everybody has, there's a secondary community that we have found in tradies and business, being other like-minded business owners. So often a lot of our friends say, well, you work for yourself, just take the weekend off. Or just go on a holiday for a week. You're a builder, you must make lots of money. But it's not the case. If I take the weekend off, where do the boys go on Monday? Where are the materials? Where do they come from? Like, there's all these things that are always running through your head as a business owner. And unless you've been there and done that, it's very difficult for people to understand. So for me to be able to, you know, say to everybody, hey guys, we've had this thing happen in our life. I'm now running a building company. What do I do? And there's other people who go, okay, well, start with this, this, and this. And not even just when something bad has happened. There's also been times where I can't get this particular person to pay a bill, or we don't know what's happening next, or we have this staff member who has done XYZ, or do I really need to pay this ridiculous work cover premium? Like, just having other people who are in the same boat as you, weathering the same storm, is very, very helpful.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's my favorite part of what we do here at TOB, our community, and how everyone bands together in good times and bad. It's not all about the bad. There's a lot of good stuff. There was a post in our messenger group just this morning, what was just afternoon actually. Two ladies working in different businesses in a local area, and it's a builder and a landscaper, and they're going to be working on a project together that they worked through with the client together. They've collaborated and found a way to really offer a unique offering to their local community, and it's paying off for them. So there's a huge celebration for them in the chat, which is cool. And we also talk about Lara is the queen of using AI to help us all generate a weekly meal plan and a shopping list. And, we talk about real life stuff. This is about life and our roles as tradie wives and business partners mean that we have another life. It's not just about work. It is about life. And so when stuff happens in life or it gets a bit tough or it gets really exciting, it's something that we all get to share together and participate in. It's my favorite part of what we do.
Yeah, especially with the women, to be able to say, oh my Lord, we've got this big job. Hubby's out working 12 hours a day. I've got 3 kids that are running around. How do I manage to get the kids fed and in bed and put an invoice out and make sure that, he's got lunch for tomorrow, and who's doing my washing? And, there's been photos of
Mount Washmores.
Piles of Mount Washmores around, comparing who's doing what. And, it ebbs and flows. Some people are having good days while others are having bad days. And we're just all able to sort of pick up someone else's, slack, I guess, and really help pull them through their bad days when you're having a good day. And then say, excuse me, guys, my turn. I'm having a bad day.
There's lots of support and there's lots of shortcuts. I still find it also amazing that so many of our incredible women are happy to share what they've already done. So if they've already worked on something that somebody else is working on, they're more than happy just to hand it over and say, hey, this is what we did. It worked for us. Maybe that could work for you. And then half your work's done for you. You're not having to start from scratch every single time.
Or, hey guys, I am so angry. I can't possibly word this email nicely. Can you please help me write a polite way of saying get along the way?
Lara is a queen at rewriting emails. All righty, Lara, thank you so much for being here. I think you're going to do an amazing job over the next few weeks as you jump in and take the reins of your building/plumbing/roofing business. I just know that you've got the systems and the structure in place. And look, here we are on day 1 of you really hitting the ground with doing this, and you've made time to record a podcast, and you've been to our meeting for today already. So, if you can do it, anybody can. And that I think that's the high point.
They say if you want a job done properly, you should get a woman to do it.
That should be the tagline.
Going out to prepare my T-shirt right now.
I did it, and I did it better than you.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much for being here today, Lara Denes. Ladies, if you are interested in finding out more, we actually have a ladies only development week coming up. Oh, let me get the dates right. Lara will be joining us in that Ladies Only Development Week. It kicks off on Tuesday, the 31st of October. There are quick, short webinars each day for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday before we open the doors to the Ladies Only Tradiepreneur program. They will be open for the weekend only. You can jump straight in. It's only a 6-month commitment. It's a stripped back version of the program so that you are not having the huge commitment that we normally ask 2 of you to participate in. We've created this so that it's nice and simple. It can run alongside what you're already doing, whether that is working in the trade business or working in an external job and looking for ways that you can start to step in. But please join us for the Ladies Only Development Week. You can find out more on our website, tradiesandbusiness.com.au, or on our Tradie Wife Life socials, both on Instagram and over on Facebook. Lara, thank you for making time for me today. I really appreciate it.
That's okay. My pleasure.
And thank you all for listening.